Hi everyone, it's Linnea from Miss Ink Stamps, and I cannot believe that Father's Day is in just a couple of days. So I wanted to use this adorable stuck duck stamp set from Miss Ink Stamps, which is totally okay for both Father's Day and non-Father's Day cards. But I thought my dad is definitely the type of guy who uses duct tape to fix everything. So this card is going to be perfect for him. I'm going to be using the In and Outs Mediterranean stencil set from Miss Ink Stamps. I am lining up the outer, just kind of like the border stencil. This is a 3-piece stencil set, so I'm just taking this border, lining this up directly in the middle of my card front, taping it onto the back of my cardstock, and then I'm going to grab some dark black ink and slowly work my way around inking this border. I'm making sure to press my fingers down on either side of that border line. Since this is a thin line, thin lines have a tendency to kind of shift a little bit, but if you put your fingers on either side of that border line as you ink blend, you can really eliminate the shifting. Now I'm going to take the center piece of the In and Outs Mediterranean stencil, spray the back of this lightly with pixie spray, and give this just a minute to set. You need about 60 to 90 seconds for the pixie spray to become sticky or tacky, but it's not going to leave residue on your cardstock. I put that right in the center of my In and Outs Mediterranean border. And now I am using the layered small alternating dots stencil set. So this is a set of 2 stencils. I have the larger of the dots, and I'm going to ink up with some mustard seed distress oxide ink. Give that a wipe. I'll remove that stencil, and then I can grab the second piece of the layered small alternating dot stencil set and line that up right over the top. There are little etch marks showing you exactly how to line this up. And I'm going to come in with some Hickory Smoke distress oxide ink. Yellow and gray is one of my favorite color combinations for male cards or female cards. I think it's just such a classic color combination, and it works for any type of card. I'm going to start removing my stencils as well as that mask in the center, and check this out. Now I have those alternating dots in the background and that In and Outs Mediterranean border, and the inside is masked off. So I have a perfect place to put my images. I'm going to use some Copic friendly ink to stamp out the duck, and then a couple of the stacks of rolls of duct tape from the Stuck Duck stamp set. And now I'm just going to easily color these in. I am using Copic markers because lately that's just what I've been reaching for, but I absolutely go through phases. Sometimes I will grab my watercolors, sometimes my watercolor markers. Pretty much the only medium that I am not comfortable coloring with, so I should be coloring with them, is colored pencils. It's something that I've never learned how to do quite right. So use what you feel comfortable with. That's the great thing about card making, is that you can use whatever you have in your stash and whatever you're most comfortable with to color. So I'm going ahead and I'm coloring in. I want my duck to be kind of like a whitish gray. So I started with C3 and just added some shadows to the areas that are kind of underneath the wings or underneath the duct tape there. Then I came in with C2, pulled out the shadow just a little bit. Then I used C1, and then I went over the whole thing with some colorless blender to really blend those colors together. I'm just going to use some oranges for his beak and his feet. So YR07 and YR04 is what I'll use there. Again, just adding where I think there should be shadows. So at the bottom really is I picture the light kind of hitting the top, so the bottom of his feet will be in shadow. So then again, just blending out, and then I'll grab my lightest color, my YR02, and color all over the rest of the beak and the feet to blend those colors together. Now, here's another example of use what you have. I don't have any Copic or alcohol markers that are going to give a really good silvery color. I think the toner grays would be probably the best to use for that, but I don't have a single toner gray marker in my stash. So I'm going to go with the neutral gray markers. You could still stick with the cool grays, that's what I used to color the duck, but I wanted there to be a little bit of difference in color between the duct tape and the actual duck itself. I didn't want it to look super monochromatic. So I'm going to come in here. I started with N6, and again, just adding a line of color where I think it should be darkest. Then moving on to my next color, which is N4, pulling out those shadows just a little bit more. And then I'm going to come in, I believe that I used N2 to finish up coloring and just kind of add color all over the remainder. Oh, I used N2 and then I also brought in some N0 as well. I was really trying to go for a silvery look. It didn't quite turn out. It definitely looks more dark gray, but I went with what I had and I think it turned out really great in the end. Once I'm all done coloring, I'm going to use my scissors and I will fussy cut out around the images. These are easy to cut out. And I'm going to place them in the center where I had masked off the center of my stenciled background using the In and Out's Mediterranean stencil. I have a basic idea of how I want my images to be arranged. Now I'm going back to that Stuck Duck stamp set, and I want my sentiment to be in that little cutout. I could definitely have stamped the sentiment on a strip and cut it out, and looking back, maybe I should have because my sentiment ended up just a little bit crooked, but I had an idea and I was going to stick to it. So since my sentiment is too long to fit where I wanted it to go, I'm going to use my scissors and cut it apart. Don't panic. It is totally fine to cut apart your photopolymer stamps as long as you are cutting in between the words and not through the actual photopolymer itself. I stamped my sentiment and added my ducks and duct tape with foam tape, and that finishes this card. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you picked up some tips and tricks and were inspired today. Remember, you can always come back to the Miss Ink Stamps channel for more inspiration, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye!